Hey guys, I am Dani and welcome back here to Summer Skye Gardens. So in today's video, I am in the farmhouse and I am making bouquets for my first monthly bouquet subscription delivery. It is pretty much going to be all tulips and anemones because that's what I have growing. Going to be beautiful and lovely. And I thought I would show you guys how I kind of prep everything and make the bouquets, make them beautiful, make them efficiently and fast, and kind of just how I set up my CSA. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, comment below. So since I am doing tulips and anemones, the tulips I've been keeping in the cooler for the last couple of weeks. I have to bring them out and process them before I can put them in my bouquets. This first month, I have decided to do the bouquets inside a mason jar. And then I've instructed all the recipients to keep the jar, and in the subsequent months that they receive a bouquet, put the jar on their patio with like a little bit of water. So if they're not home, I can just put the wrapped bouquet in there. I didn't do this last year, and there was quite a few people that would, forget to put out a container of water. And for the most part, the flowers were fine for a couple of hours in the shade on their porch, but I just figured, why not just give them a mason jar? Mason jars are cheap. It'll make the bouquets look really pretty today, and then they can just use it in the subsequent months to come. So I'll show you all the flowers that I'm using. I'll show you how I process the tulips. The anemones are pretty much all processed. They are cut, they've been in water. I am going to maybe trim them as I put them in the jars, just depending on how high they need to be, but I'll show you kind of how I lay everything out and what the materials I'm using. All right, so basically I've got all my tulips here. I'm in the kitchen in the farmhouse. Usually if I'm doing wrapped bouquets, I have a room set up where I will do all the processing and wrapping, but because I have to cut the bulbs off the tulips and wash the dirt off, I wanted to do it in the kitchen by the sink. And so I've got a really big trash can that I use for plant debris that I can just go dump in the compost pile when I'm done. I've got some towels laid out here by the sink, and then I've got all my tulips over here. So what I'll do is I'll cut the bulb off, pull off some of the leaves, set it down. Once I get a handful of them done, I will wash them off, and then I will go ahead and place them in the jar. And that's just to kind of minimize how many times I'm touching the flowers and having to like move them, different places. So I will get started and speed this up and show you some of the clips of how I do everything. right, so here is the finished product. I ended up putting in 10 tulips and 4 anemones, which is way more than I would give for a $25 bouquet that was just a random order, or this would definitely be a lot more expensive. But these are my CSA customers. They're kind of my VIPs. I had the extra flowers that I wasn't going to sell, so might as well, you know, be generous. They're just in these larger mason jars, and then I just have a little tag that I put my sticker on just to remind them who I am, especially because some of these are gifts. And then, you know, they can always take this off. And it's pretty much ready to go. I didn't fuss a lot with placement. I just tried to maybe cut a few down that might have been like too tall, but otherwise it just kind of has like a little wild appearance. It's got a few different colors going on here. And I just think they came out really lovely and honestly look better than they would in a wrap, just with them kind of being all over the place, and especially because some of the anemones are on the shorter side. This way I can use them by putting them in a jar versus not use them, and I think that the customers will really end up liking them. So let me get them all in my bold crate, which is what I will carry them with in my car, and I'll give you a look. Hey guys, so I am back home. I finished all my deliveries for the day. In total, I had 11 monthly subscriptions that I needed to get out. So I thought I would just take a few minutes to sit down and tell you how I run my subscriptions, how I get my subscriptions, the cost, and, you know, just a few kind of notes on it. So this is my second year doing a CSA, which is community supported agriculture. And it's basically people buy a, you know, number of products from you ahead of time. Vegetable farmers have done this for a long time. Usually it's like they get a share of the weekly harvest or the monthly harvest for so many weeks or months, and they pay ahead of time. And then the farmer is able to use that money to kind of, you know, put into the crop. And it's very helpful because it brings in money in a time, you know, typically when you're not bringing in other money because it's before you have the product available. So for flowers, most people that do a flower CSA, and we'll just call it a bouquet subscription to make things simpler. Usually we do bouquets on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis. And the decision to do that, I think, just has to do with you, what you prefer, your availability, what the demand is in your area, what your, you know, weather is like, your season. So I've tried weekly and monthly, and by far the monthly is more popular. I don't know if people just don't feel like they want that many flowers that close together to do a weekly subscription. But the monthly both years has been my higher seller. So this year I've offered a 4-month and a 6-month. And then I also offered a 6-week spring and a 6-week summer. I started advertising for this back in October. I launched it around the Black Friday holiday right after Thanksgiving, and I kind of ran it through the end of the year as like a Christmas present promotion, and I've found that that usually works pretty well. And then I kind of, you know, let it just sit and then bring it back up as we approach Valentine's as like, you know, another gift you can bring. And then once Valentine hits, I shut it down. So this year I didn't sell any summer weekly, and that's not quite surprising just because I don't know if people get out of school and just kind of figure they don't want to worry about getting flowers, even though I said I would start it in May, it would run through June, whatever. This is the second year nobody has bought the summer subscription, so I think I'm just going to get rid of it. The spring subscription, last year I had 2 people get it. This year I had 3. So I think that's another one that I'm going to get rid of. Luckily, the people that have bought it, they're in my neighborhood, so it'll be pretty easy for me to go drop off a few bouquets every week for 6 weeks, but it's just one little thing that I have to worry about on a weekly basis at that time that, you know, if I'm doing 2 or 3 bouquets, I don't know that it's quite like worth the time and the energy to email those people, send out reminders, you know, put the effort into making the bouquets separate from anything else I'm doing, make the deliveries. I don't know. Kind of see how it goes this year. The monthly, so I had a bunch of people buy the 6-month, handful bought the 4-month. I still think they're both good options. I was aiming to start them in February, which I just did, of course. So the 4-month will be February, March, April, May. And then the 6-month, of course, will be February, March, April, May, June, July. I think next year, I don't want to do the 6-month. I don't want to go into July. I was really hoping that I could start out with tulips at the end of January, but they just weren't ready yet. So I had to push it back a month and kind of do it later in February. And so that's now going into July for the 6-month. And that's usually kind of the tougher part of the year. So, you know, I think next year I'm just going to offer like 1 bouquet subscription and just keep it simplified so I don't have to worry like, well, how many are this people getting? How many is this one getting? Who's a weekly? Who's a monthly? Just do like 1 like 4 or 5 month subscription and leave it at that. So the subscriptions are all based on a $25 bouquet. So the 4-month is $100 and the 6-week or the 6-month are $150. And I feel like that's a really good price point for most people to, you know, be able to spend on something. And I do have a handful that are gifts. So I think that that's a good price point as a gift. I do pad these bouquets a little bit. I just feel like the CSA customers are your kind of VIPs. You know, they're giving you money ahead of time, putting their faith in you that they're going to receive your product, you know, later on. And I want to reward them for that. And so I give them kind of the cream of the crop for that, you know, week. I may give them some extra flowers. And then of course I do delivery, and not a lot of people do that. Last year I just delivered within my neighborhood and that worked out well, but I wanted to try to get more subscriptions. So I widened my delivery area to like a zip code. And that got me a few more this year, but not a ton. But I will say that it took me about 2 hours and 45 minutes to deliver 11 bouquets because I had 3 that were farther out than what I had agreed to. The person that bought those, it was the same person, bought 3 as gifts for family members. She paid a little extra for me to deliver further out. So I figured I would try that out this year. It did take a good chunk of my time to get out to where these 3 people live, but at least they were kind of all right around each other. I had another person that lives a little more north, but was in my zip code of where I would deliver. And then everyone else was kind of in my neighborhood. Sorry, cut off abruptly there. Got interrupted by my kiddo, but that's all right. Where was I? Okay, so we talked about how many weeks or months, cost, delivery. So I offer delivery, and I feel like most people expect that. And I mean, I would too, honestly. So I think you have to decide if that's something you can handle and that you want to provide, or a lot of people do like a pickup location. So you could still be delivering close to the person, but they still have to go pick it up themselves. And I think that that's a really good compromise. I do hear about people, you know, not being able to make it to the pickup location, or there being some confusion about if somebody gets like the wrong bouquet or stuff like that. And I think you can iron that out, but that's a good way to have a lot of subscriptions that you can just go drop off in one place. So you're not spending like forever delivering everything. I think right now my CSA is small enough that I can still handle deliveries, but I don't think that I can handle much more than what I'm doing. I do want to do more ideally, but the fact that this year I didn't sell that many more than last year, and I only had a few people buy them again. I don't know if this is something that I will do long term. I mean, right now it's a good chunk of money for me. But I could totally see, you know, maybe I just narrow it down to the one-off for next year, see how that goes. And, you know, if I don't get a lot more subscribers and I'm able to kind of beef up my sales in other areas, then this may be something that I let go. I do like that I can make the bouquets and go deliver them while my kids are in school. So it's not really taking up my time after hours, you could say. However, it does take a good chunk of time for me to, you know, harvest, process, and then go make all the deliveries. And then you're also spending time like sending out emails about, well, this is how this works, and this is the instructions, and oh, hey, your bouquet's coming this week. Oh, hey, your bouquet's coming today. So that's another thing to keep in mind. As for getting my customers and advertising, I've just used my social media. I've used my newsletter. I haven't run any ads. I haven't done anything special. The suburban area that I live in north of Houston has a ton of people, and I live in a large suburban neighborhood. People are pretty well off here. And I also have large neighborhoods like right around me. So I have a good pool of people that I can reach out to. And I think I've just been trying to use social media, word of mouth to kind of get the word out. And so far that's done okay. This isn't something that I really want to spend a lot of money advertising on, just because I'm not sure if it's going to be like a long-term thing for me. But I think that is something that you could look into if you want to. So anyways, yeah, that is the beginning of the bouquet subscriptions and just my kind of thoughts on how it's going to go this year. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, be sure to comment below, and I will see you guys in my next video.